First up, we had this really revealing and gaslighting exchange between a Republican congressman and Biden's Secretary of Health and Human Services. Take a listen.
Mr. Secretary, did forcing 2-year-olds to wear masks save lives?
Do what now?
Did forcing 2-year-olds to wear masks save lives?
Making sure people wore masks when it was appropriate was essential to make sure that we were able to get out of this pandemic.
Sure, but that wasn't my question. Could you answer the question that I asked?
Which is?
Did forcing 2-year-olds to wear masks save lives?
And who did the forcing?
Well, your department, or the Head Start, which is under your department, had a mask mandate until late last year for 2-year-olds and above, even outdoors. So can you point to any public health benefit of that policy?
Right. We never forced anyone to do anything because we don't have the jurisdiction or authority to do that. What we did was provide guidance on what would be
Mr. Secretary, did Head Start have a mask mandate?
We provide a mask mandate, a requirement for jurisdictions that wish to receive money to provide particular services.
So Head Start did have a mask mandate for kids, yes?
We had a mask mandate for for agencies that wish to get federal dollars.
So that's a yes. So can you
services.
point to any benefit,
That's not a yes to
any
your
public
question.
health benefit from that policy, whether it was recommended or enforced or forced, of requiring young children to wear masks?
Did families benefit from the policy of using all protection, all precautions to avoid
No, I'm not asking you to
contracting COVID?
rephrase my
Yes.
question as some abstract question that you'd rather answer. I'm asking that you, as the person who's the Secretary of Health and Human Services, right now, can you point to any evidence that there was a public health benefit to forcing young children to wear masks?
Well, the fact that today we are not losing lives the way we lost them when we first got into this pandemic.
And you think that's
is a
because we
clear
forced
sign.
2-year-olds to wear masks?
That's your interpretation. What I'm saying to you is that using good policies that give us the precautions to keep our families from contracting COVID are helping save
I want to
lives.
quote to you from an article from NPR in January of 2022. It says, the United States is an outlier in recommending masks from the age of 2 years old. The World Health Organization does not recommend masks for children under age 5, while the European equivalent of the CDC doesn't recommend them for children under age 12. In retrospect, was it a mistake for the United States to defy the international norm on child masking?
The U.S. has been working closely with our international partners, and we have done more than any other country to try
But that's
to help
not what
our-
I asked you.
our
I asked
country-
you, was it
our
a
partner
mistake
countries.
to defy the international norm on the issue of child masking?
We continue to use all the best practices when it comes to making sure people take the precautions.
Is
they
there a
need
reason
to
you're
be
not
safe.
answering my question, Mr. Secretary?
I'm answering the question the best I can.
So this is like a masterclass in gaslighting, huh?
That gave me hives, but who's Kevin Kiley? That was some hot questioning. I liked it. I don't know him. That was awesome. Yes, that was so impressive to watch him take that guy down. I mean, the amount of gaslighting and just pivoting and like trying to dance around the facts, that was kind of hilarious to watch him dance, but also infuriating because I can't imagine if I had to like mask up my baby every day. And then like how he tries to deny that they forced this. Like, yes, you did force it. What are you talking about? And then he says, oh, we just wouldn't give them any funding if they didn't enforce it. Like,
And they also had so the feds literally, they had the travel mask mandate, they had the Head Start mask mandate, then they had the recommendations for state and local governments to do their own mask mandates.
Yep.
They tied funding to it. It's like, you absolutely did. That is, you are a liar. You are disingenuous.
The lack of intellectual humility, it's one thing to just be like, man, we were asshats and got it totally wrong. Like, sorry. But to continue to try to deny it and lie about it and misconstrue what you did and refuse to like take accountability, you don't deserve to ever be in a position of power. When you're in the position of power, the buck stops with you. The failure is on you. Man up. Take responsibility. Say you're sorry. Issue public apologies and ensure this kind of crap doesn't happen again. Let other people learn from your failures who come behind you. Like, this is just what a piss poor example of leadership.
Yeah, and also he's just asking you for the evidence. So if this is really such a good policy, just cite one possible benefit or defense of it. And you can't. You can't, because forcing a 2-year-old, a healthy 2-year-old was literally never at any risk of dying from COVID-19. Statistically, almost zero risk. Forcing them to wear a cloth mask that they will, one, it's useless anyway, but two, they will not wear it properly. They'll pull it down, they'll sneeze on it, they'll just do, like, The whole thing was so obviously nonsensical that all they can do is gaslight. They can't even attempt a defense on the merits of what they did. And to me, that is so revealing. But Hannah, it gets way worse. That was not even the worst part of this. So then Congressman Jerry Nadler, who is one of the top Democrats in the House, he followed up this exchange in response to it by getting up there and saying that if you didn't mask your 2-year-old, that is child abuse. Take a listen to this.
Before I was allowed to go to school, I won't tell you how many years ago that was, I had to be vaccinated for diphtheria, for whooping cough, for the diseases that they then knew had to vaccinate against. Nothing has changed. We have to vaccinate people to prevent diseases and pandemics. The gentleman asked, why should a 2-year-old, and the fact of the matter is that people should require to be either vaccinated, especially a nurse who is dealing with patients, who is breathing on those patients. She can transmit the disease. So certainly she should be required to be vaccinated, because the vaccination not only protects her, it protects against transmission of the disease to the next person. And the healthcare worker certainly ought to be required to be vaccinated. And when we have a pandemic like COVID-19 pandemic that we had, 2-year-olds should have been required to wear masks. It would be child abuse for parents not to do that, because there was no vaccination available for 2-year-olds. And the only way to protect them against COVID was to have them wear masks. And these mandates are meant to protect the public's health and safety.
Just demented.
Rep Jerry Nadler, not hot. I like the woman sitting off camera looking at him where he's like, this was the only way to save kids' lives because there weren't vaccines. And she's like, don't lump me in with this. Like, no, sir. What a crack pipe thing to say. Like, what are you talking about? It's unbelievable to me. These people think they were following the science. It's next level.
2-year-olds were never at any risk of dying from COVID-19 unless they had some serious pre-existing health condition. And then the claim that they needed the masks to protect them. Well, even the argument for masks was never that they protect you from getting COVID. It was that it limits transmission to others in theory, like it decreases your spread in a lab setting, in a real world setting. But at least on paper, that was the theory behind it. So it was never even the N95s, they offer some degree of protection, but like the surgical and cloth masks that they were forcing people to wear, even the theory behind those masks was not that they protect the wearer, but that they protect the people around them from the spread. So forcing the 2-year-old to wear the mask never had anything to do with protecting the 2-year-old. That is gaslighting. This is fear-mongering. It is alarmism. But I also just say this, and Republicans do this too sometimes, I think we should be always very skeptical of claims of like, this is child abuse that aren't actually referring to child abuse. Like child abuse is such, and I've seen it up close just a little bit working with kids in the past. It is such a horrific thing, physical or sexual abuse of minors, that it really shouldn't be bandied about lightly or conflated with like politics. And I hate to see that. I really do. And so anytime somebody's doing that, it gives me the wrong, it just rubs me the wrong way.
Yeah, I just think anybody who invokes kids in politics, period, I don't take it seriously. Like, I think people just fearmonger around kids nonstop and like are constantly trying to drag kids into it. You had really bad ideas. You forced them on everybody, including kids. You were not following the science. You were not following other nations. Nobody else was doing this. Nobody else was shutting down their schools even. You were out on a limb acting freaking crazy for a politically driven agenda that had hardly anything to do with keeping people safe. You were drunk on power, and it was harmful, especially to small children who need to be able to read lips to develop their speech pathology. It is so important that they be able to look at people's lips and movement so that they can learn how to properly talk, so they can learn how to recognize facial expressions. So it's not chump change what you did. It was not grounded in anything that makes any sense. You had no excuse to do it. You were absolutely in the wrong. And the fact that you still can't admit it, I just think so lowly of these people.